Hello, good day. This is Shriji Gwinnett and Ocampo from 2E, major in English. And today I'll be discussing the process of reproduction on how we reproduce, how we fertilize, how conception happens, and how pregnancy occurs. Okay? But first, I'd like everyone to know that we human beings are, we are differentiated sexually at birth. Um, we are differentiated as male and then as female. However, when we mature, our differences are much more accentuated, and that is during the puberty stage of our life. So, this is when the reproductive system of everyone matures because the secondary sexual characteristics develop. What are those secondary sexual characteristics? The body hair, the physical structures, and others. So, remember that during the puberty stage, the body of the male and the female became more distinctive. It means the differences are much more highlighted. So remember everyone that female puberty begins at about when we are 8 years of age until 13 years. So the changes in the body mostly happen during those periods. So the reproduction maturation, however, of boys lags about 2 years behind that of the girls. So it is a common knowledge between us that girls matures earlier than boys. So the changes or the physical changes of the female puberty includes the breast development, the rounding of the hips and the buttocks, the growth of the hair in the pubic area or in the genital area and the underarm, and of course, the start of the menstruation. Okay, so women or girls start their menstruation when they came to an age between 10 to 13 years old. So that is what women makes different from men. But before we proceed to our main discussion, I'd like you all to think about this logic that within 9 months, a girl or a woman can carry one child. One child. But within 9 months, a male can produce at least 200 children. That's how different females and males are. Females can have their firstborn, only one firstborn within a period of 9 months. But a male can conceive several firstborns with several females, with several sexual partners within 9 months. Okay. Now let's proceed to the next slide. Okay, before we proceed to our main lesson, I'd like us to remember about the words that we will be. Hala, why I'm not moving? Okay, we will be discussing about the words here that we will be encountering for most of the lesson. We have here the first one, the ovulation. That is the process when a mature ovum or the mature egg is released from the ovary and then travels to the fallopian tube for possible fertilization. And now, what is fertilization? That is the union of the sperm and the ovum. And when fertilization happens, we have here the third word, pregnancy. That is the process when an offspring develops within the mother's womb. Okay, now let's proceed to the next slide. Now, here are the main topics. I have divided our lesson into four. The first topic is we have the process of ovulation, or how does one ovulate. The second is that what are the physical signs of ovulation, or how a woman can tell that they are fertile. Number three is pregnancy. How does one get pregnant? And number four, the stages of pregnancy. Okay, now let's proceed to our main topic, the process of ovulation. Okay, as what I have said earlier, the major landmark of puberty among females is the onset of the menstrual cycle. So the monthly ovulation cycle that leads to menstruation or the loss of blood and tissues lining of the uterus is the menstruation. Okay. So the menstrual cycle is from the first day of the period until the day before the next period starts. So remember that normally it lasts around 28 days on the average, but it can be short. It can be as short as 21 or as long as 40 days. Whatever the length, ovulation will happen about 10 to 16 days before the start of the next period. Okay, so just remember that your menstrual cycle as a woman resets the day that your menstrual flow begins. So that is the start of the follicular phase. Okay, so when the egg during the follicular phase, that is where the egg matures and it is released from your ovary to your uterus lining during ovulation. Okay, so during the follicular phase, your body will release the follicle stimulating hormone or the FSH. That hormone will help the egg inside your ovary to mature and be prepared for release. Now, once the egg is matured, your body will release a surge of luteinizing hormone. That hormone triggers the egg's release. Okay, so ovulation usually happens around day 14 in the 28th or to 36 hours after the surge of the luteinizing hormone. Okay, so after ovulation comes the luteal phase. If pregnancy occurs during this phase or when there is a sexual interaction between a male and a female during this phase, the hormones will keep the line from shedding. So menstruation won't happen if a sperm meets the egg. Otherwise, if that didn't happen, bleeding will start around day 28 of the cycle, beginning another cycle. Okay, so in short, ovulation, it generally occurs in the middle of the menstrual cycle. Okay, now let's proceed to the next part. Now I'll discuss the signs of ovulation. How do I know if I'm ovulating? Actually, this is an important topic, especially for couples, because you need to know when one is fertile or not eh, to match your goals. If you want to be pregnant, you should know when the woman is fertile. If you don't want to get pregnant, you should know which day you should avoid doing sexual intercourse. Okay, now here are the several signs of ovulation. Okay, the first sign here is the menstrual cycle. Okay, ovulation typically happens around day 14 of a 28 menstrual day cycle. So counting from the first day of your period. But normal cycles, it can be as short as 21 days. Okay, so I have mentioned about it earlier. However, to make it more easier to count the days, you can track your cycle over multiple months to learn its length. It should you should calculate the average length of your period because it will provide much more trusting results on when you are likely to ovulate. Now, to do that, there are some application that I can recommend. You can um, download those applications. It can help you to monitor your menstrual cycle when you will be menstruating again. It can help you monitor when you are feel ovulating or when you are fertile. So I think I know two application. You can either choose between Flow or the application My Calendar. So that is helpful. Okay, the next sign we have here is the body temperature. So I'd like you to remember that when you are ovulating, your temperature rises slightly for a few days after ovulation takes place by about zero point 0.5 to 1.3 Fahrenheit or zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.7 degrees Celsius. So you may be able to detect the change by taking your temperature every morning. Okay. Now, let's proceed to the next sign. Another sign we have here is the vaginal discharge. When you are ovulating, the vaginal discharge is quite different. There's likely more of it around the time of ovulation. There is more discharge during ovulation because, however, the discharge is usually more clear and more slippery. Why is it slippery when you're ovulating? It can help the sperm to enter the eggs. Mhm. Okay, and for the last sign, we have using at-home trackers. Okay, you can purchase these trackers at several pharmacy stores. Over-the-counter options include the ovulation predictor kits and the fertility monitors. Okay, now let's proceed to the next topic. Okay, is ovulation the only time you can become pregnant? Can anyone here discuss if it is the only time you can be pregnant? Of course, no. While the egg can only fertilize in the 12 to 24 hours after it's released, the sperm can live in the reproductive tract under ideal conditions for about 5 days. So, if you have sex in the days leading up to ovulation or on the day of the ovulation itself, you may become pregnant. If you are not trying to get pregnant, I'd like everyone to remember that using contraception is your safest option at all times of your cycle. Whether you are fertile or not, you should use contraception. Next, now, how does pregnancy occur? Okay, so for pregnancy to proceed, it is actually taught to us ever since we are elementary that a sperm needs to meet the egg. So pregnancy officially starts when a fertilized egg was implanted in the lining of the uterus. So, however, the term pregnancy or the concept of pregnancy happens after 2 or 3 weeks of the sexual intercourse. So this is redundant. Okay. Now, however, pregnancy is different from conception. Pregnancy is when the egg or fertilized egg is already attached to the uterus. However, conception, that is specifically the process that begins with fertilization of an egg by the sperm and then it ends with implantation. Okay, so when a male and a female have a sexual intercourse, when they have sex, the penis fits into the woman's vagina and then ejaculation or coming releases the sperm via the penis into the vagina. Okay, so the sperm swims through the female's cervix into the womb and finally into the fallopian tubes. So once the egg or the ovum has been released into the fallopian tube, hundreds of sperm will swim up to reach it. So finally, when the sperm penetrates the egg in the fallopian tube where fertilization takes place and eventually it becomes an embryo. And once the embryo attaches to the inner lining of the uterus, a fetus develops within 5 to 7 days from a ball of cells floating in the uterus. So that is when pregnancy officially begins. So to be fully familiar, I have prepared here a video. Actually, this video has helped me. I've watched it several times. When I was in high school, it was shown by my science teachers. This will help you better understand how conception and pregnancy occurs. So this is an animated video of how the sperm fights its way to the egg. Here it is.
Fertilization is the epic story of a single sperm facing incredible odds to unite with an egg and form a new human life. It is the story of all of us. During sexual intercourse, about 300 million sperm enter the vagina. Soon afterward, millions of them will either flow out of the vagina or die in its acidic environment. However, many survive because of the protective elements provided in the fluid surrounding them. Next, the sperm must pass through the cervix, an opening into the uterus. Usually, it remains tightly closed, but here the cervix is open for a few days while the woman ovulates. The sperm swim through the cervical mucus, which is thinned to a more watery consistency for easier passage. Once inside the cervix, the sperm continues swimming toward the uterus, though millions will die trying to make it through the mucus. Some sperm remain behind, caught in the folds of the cervix, but they may later continue the journey as a backup to the first group. Inside the uterus, muscular uterine contractions assist the sperm on their journey toward the egg. However, resident cells from the woman's immune system, mistaking the sperm for foreign invaders, destroy thousands more. Next, half the sperm head for the empty fallopian tube, while the other half swim toward the tube containing the unfertilized egg. Now, only a few thousand remain. Inside the fallopian tube, tiny cilia push the egg toward the uterus. To continue, the sperm must surge against this motion to reach the egg. Some sperm get trapped in the cilia and die. During this part of the journey, chemicals in the reproductive tract cause the membranes covering the heads of the sperm to change. As a result, the sperm become hyperactive, swimming harder and faster toward their destination. At long last, the sperm reach the egg. Only a few dozen of the original 300 million sperm remain. The egg is covered with a layer of cells called the corona radiata. The sperm must push through this layer to reach the outer layer of the egg, the zona pellucida. When sperm reach the zona pellucida, they attach to specialized sperm receptors on the surface, which triggers their acrosomes to release digestive enzymes, enabling the sperm to burrow into the layer. Inside the zona pellucida is a narrow, fluid-filled space just outside the egg cell membrane. The first sperm to make contact will fertilize the egg. After a perilous journey and against incredible odds, a single sperm attaches to the egg cell membrane. Within a few minutes, their outer membranes fuse and the egg pulls the sperm inside. This event causes changes in the egg membrane that prevent other sperm from attaching to it. Next, the egg releases chemicals that push other sperm away from the egg and create an impenetrable fertilization membrane. As the reaction spreads outward, the zona pellucida hardens, trapping any sperm unlucky enough to be caught inside. Outside the egg, sperm are no longer able to attach to the zona pellucida. Meanwhile, inside the egg, the tightly packed male genetic material spreads out. A new membrane forms around the genetic material, creating the male pronucleus. Inside, the genetic material reforms into 23 chromosomes. The female genetic material, awakened by the fusion of the sperm with the egg, finishes dividing, resulting in the female pronucleus, which also contains 23 chromosomes. As the male and female pronuclei form, spiderweb-like threads, called microtubules, pull them toward each other. The two sets of chromosomes join together, completing the process of fertilization. At this moment, a unique genetic code arises, instantly determining gender, hair color, eye color, and hundreds of other characteristics. This new single cell, the zygote, is the beginning of a new human being. And now the cilia in the fallopian tube gently sweep the zygote toward the uterus, where he or she will implant in the rich uterine lining, growing and maturing for the next 9 months until ready for birth.
Okay, so that's it. I hope the video helped you about how conception happens. Now, let's proceed to the stages of pregnancy. So, just like what I have told you earlier, a normal pregnancy lasts 37 to 42 weeks for about 9 months. So, this is measured from the first day of your last period. So, pregnancy is discussed in terms of trimesters. We have the 3 month periods since each trimester is very different from the rest. And after 8 weeks, the embryo is officially referred to as a fetus. Okay, now let's discuss further about these 3 trimesters. On your first trimester, you have here the week 1 to 12. Okay, so during the first trimester, your body goes many changes. It undergoes a lot of changes. Hormonal changes affect almost every organ system in your body. So these changes can trigger symptoms even in the very first weeks of pregnancy. So, one clear sign of pregnancy is your period stopping. Other changes that happens within your body includes extreme tiredness, lagi ka ng pagod, tender or swollen breasts, your nipples might also stick out, upset stomach with or without trying to throw up. It feels like para ka masusuka. And then cravings or distaste for certain foods. You are constantly craving about something. And then next, mood swings, constipation, or the need to urine often, headaches, heartburns, and weight gain or weight loss. Okay, so as your body changes during the first trimester, you need to make changes also to your daily routine, such as going to the bed earlier, or eating frequently, or eating small meals. Fortunately, most of these discomforts will go away as your pregnancy progresses, and some women might not feel any discomfort at all. So if you have been pregnant before, you might feel different this time around. Just as each woman is different, so is pregnancy. And next, we have here the second trimester. It is between week number 13 to week 28. So most women find the second trimester of their pregnancy easier than the first trimester. But it is just as important to stay informed about your pregnancy during these 3 months. Okay? When you are on your second trimester, you might notice that the symptoms like nausea and fatigue are going away. But other new, more noticeable changes to your body is now happening during this trimester. Okay, your abdomen will expand. Your baby bump will be noticeable. And before this trimester is over, you will feel your baby beginning to move. Yun na yung sumisipa si baby sa tiyan. So as your body changes to make room for your growing baby, you may feel body aches such as backache, abdomen pain, groin pains, or thigh pains. Also, stretch marks on your abdomen, on your breasts, on your thighs, or on your buttocks. Also, darkening of the skin around your nipples. Your nipples will start to darken. Another change that might happen is a line on the skin running from your belly button to pubic hairline. There might be a visible line from your belly button until your pubic area. Okay, and another one is patches of darker skin. You may notice that there are some parts of your skin that is getting darker, or maybe numb or tingling hands, and itching on the abdomen, on the palms, and on the soles of the feet. Okay, another one is the swelling of the ankles, of the fingers, and of the face. Okay, but that actually rarely happens. It depends on the body of the pregnant woman. Okay, now let's proceed to the third trimester. Okay, on the third trimester, that is between week 29 to week 40, you're in the home stretch already. Some of the same discomforts you had in your second trimester will continue. Plus, many women may find breathing difficult. That is because their body starts to feel heavier, the baby is getting bigger, and they might notice that they have to go to the bathroom even more often. They feel the need to pee more often. This is because the baby is, again, he or she is getting bigger and it is putting more pressure on your organs. So don't worry, your baby is fine and these problems will lessen once you give birth. Some of the changes that you might notice on the third trimester includes the shortness of the breath, heartburns, swelling of your joints or tender breasts, and your belly button might even stick out. Another one that happens mostly to women during their third trimester is their trouble in sleeping. And of course, contractions. There are false contractions that might happen, which can be a sign of real or false labor. So as you are near to your due date, your cervix becomes thinner and softer. That is called effacing. And that is normal. That is the natural process that will help the birth canal or the vagina to open during the birthing process. So the doctor will check your progress with a vaginal exam as you near your due date. They will test how many centimeters already your vagina is already dilated. So now that's it. That's the last trimester already on pregnancy. So if you have any question, you can send me a private message since that is the last part of our lesson already. So thank you so much for bearing with me. Have a good day.